Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is Slcmof and I am back again with the video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about what makes a good boss fight. Now, specifically with the Arkham video games, but I guess it can go to a more general thing as well. But with comic book video games, I think it really boils down to one thing, and I'll mention that here in a moment. And I really got this idea thinking about the Season of Infamy, and I've explained this before, but I think that every single side mission that we have in the Season of Infamy will have a boss fight for all 4 of the main villains, which in my opinion is very exciting. And the reason I think that is because Rocksteady definitely heard loud and clear the response of fans that there was not many boss fights in Arkham Knight. For me, it didn't really bother me personally, but it definitely bothered a lot of people, and I think that the boss fights that were in the game did bother me, but just for me personally, like, the fact that there weren't boss fights wasn't as big of a deal for me as it was for other people. But anyway, so my whole thing on what makes a good boss fight, and in my opinion, this method that or not really a method, but I guess just my view on what makes a good boss fight really, again, boils down to one fact, and this one fact applies to basically 99% of boss fights. It's basically foolproof, and you can think about it for just about every boss fight in the Arkham games, and it fits pretty well. It seems kind of simple, but if you think about it, a good boss fight involves you and the boss. Well, you think, I mean, that's kind of obvious. Of course, it involves you and the boss, but think about it. Think about some of the not as good boss fights in the Arkham games. A classic example of a not very good boss fight in the Arkham games is Joker in Arkham Asylum. Many people claim it to be Arkham Asylum's biggest fault, which I think I would agree with. Even though I thought the atmosphere of the fight was very good, the reason that it wasn't very good is that you're not actually fighting the Joker. So, of course, you have this big lead-up scene where you get hit by the Titan and all that kind of thing. And it's staged up to be like a Titan v Titan, like a boxing match between Batman and Joker in Titan form, but really what it ended up being is just fighting a bunch of thugs, just like you'd been doing earlier, and then grappling his back, which was very anticlimactic. So that's one example of not a very good boss fight. Another example of a very not great boss fight is the Arkham Knight boss fight after his identity reveal. As the Red Hood, spoiler alert. At this point, I just say spoiler alert after I say that it's Jason Todd. I said that in the last video too. Hopefully you guys all know by now. But anyway, so think about that boss fight. And I'm not talking about the tunnel one, which again would be an exception. I wouldn't consider it a boss fight, me personally. It's not a boss fight because you're just running around in circles in the Batmobile, but that's my personal opinion. So if you think about the identity reveal, you're basically just a stealth takedown. You're taking down all of his thugs, and then you're grappling up to him, but there's not really any engagement with him. And then think about some of the best boss fights that we have had in the Arkham games. In my opinion, the best fight that we've had in all of the Arkham games is the Mr. Freeze boss fight in Arkham City. The reason that it is so good, and again, it fits this kind of rule that I've come to the conclusion to thinking about it, it really is just about foolproof. Mr. Freeze, it is you and Freeze. There's no thugs you're beating up, nothing like that. And it's really a scale. If the boss fight focuses more on the thugs and AI than it does, I mean, of course, the boss itself is AI, but work with me here. So, you know, non-bosses, like not the boss, him or herself, Poison Ivy, Joker, if you're beating up thugs, then that boss fight is not going to be good, by definition. And if you look at the Mr. Freeze, the Deathstroke boss fight in Origins, again, it's you and the Deathstroke. That's it. Slade, that's you and Slade, that's it. It's not, you know, there's no external factors, you're not beating up his thugs, nothing like that, and it's not like he's watching, and then once you beat up all his thugs, you throw a batarang at him, and then that's how you knock his health down. Like the Poison Ivy fight was another example of it was a mediocre fight, so I guess that doesn't necessarily fit the mold as much as I would like to think it would. So, I mean, that was decent, but if you talk about the Joker boss fight, you're talking about the Arkham Knight after his identity reveal, those are examples of not very good boss fights, and the reason that they're not is that you're not actually fighting the boss. So guys, do you think that I'm correct in saying that the more that you are involved with actually fighting the boss, him or herself, the better the boss fight may be? Or do you think that there's some excellent boss fights in the Arkham series that are focused mainly on the smaller guys, or I guess not the boss, him or herself? Let me know what you thought in the comments section below. This is one thing that I really thought of, again, as I was thinking about the Season of Infamy and the boss fights. I'm really hoping that it is a back to the basics, so to speak, with the boss fights that we have in the Season of Infamy, that we're actually fighting the boss. It's us versus Mad Hatter. It is us well, we're not confirmed that there's actually a boss fight in the Mad Hatter one, but it's us versus Killer Croc. And in the Killer Croc one, apparently we're going to be dual playing with Red Hood, which is like mind-blowing if that actually happens. That's what the leak said. So we'll see how that turns out. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought in the comment section below. My name's Slikmof, and we'll see you in the next video.
That was all I could manufacture.